Welcome back, and hello if you're new. So, following their coup that was 2016's Rituals, Rotting Christ have returned with 2019's brand new offering under the name of The Heretics. Contrary to their morbid sounding name, Rotting Christ actually have more in common with the likes of heavy metal rather than the gorge-wrenched ideas of death metal. The band's sound is essentially a composite of many different subgenres in a theatrical arena that really makes for an incredibly interesting listen. So join me this week as we look to The Heretics. The overall Rotting Christ formula comprises of one main riff and its evolution around the song itself. Now, this may seem like somewhat of a very simple and primitive idea. Throughout the track, there are these very small tweaks which are made, which adds to this sense of tension. And if you really pull it apart, it's actually quite intricate. And it's these subtle nuances that move the song slowly forward. This also brings me to another element of Rotting Christ. Given the simplicity of the songs, much of the actual rhythm guitar concentrates on just that, and it operates as this rhythmic kind of mantra, if you will. For example, bursting into the speakers, Dies Irae's main riff acts as kind of like this pneumatic pumping style riff, but will literally push the song forward until we get to this massive chorus, which is often where Rotting Christ decide to really elevate the listener. And on following track, I Believe, you can hear that this riff is very, very simplistic, but again, it's these small nuances that add all this different texture and, real flavour to what could be essentially a very bland dish. The only problem about this is that sometimes I do wish it would go somewhere slightly more interesting. Rotting Christ also offer an incredibly melodic ride on The Heretics, and particularly on track Vetri Zli, there's this tremolo-picked riff which adds this idea of melody before the track is slowly but surely embellished by this big choir arrangement that, again, like I said, lifts you in that chorus section. Although one of the things I think the most striking about The Heretics is its limitless amount of atmosphere. The album opens with In the Name of God, which features this very monotone narration, which really suggests an element of the primal.
His own making. He will believe in any kind of deity, even though he may otherwise be a heretic.
However, throughout the record, there are various different kind of anchor points to go into, particularly with this narration style.
The mind is a universe. It can make.
But it's slightly different when we go into the likes of Fire, God and Fear, as it's got a very much more ethereal feel to it and less of this kind of darkness, this evilness.
Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities.
Throughout the listen on The Heretics, Rotting Christ have really approached the idea of songwriting in an entirely different light, and it very much does show. Not only do the band use multiple different languages which range from the classic Greek, Arabic, and of course English, but even incorporate various different points of spoken word. For example, the final track, which is The Raven.
Shall be lifted. Nevermore.
But going back to dynamics one more time, it's worth mentioning one of the things that I think is really genius about Rotting Christ is their use of lead guitar. Not only do they create a fantastic pace in the song, but they create this kind of story-like resolve where we go back into that final chorus or back into that final verse. Fire, God and Fear, for example, features that effortless phrasing and brings us right back into the verse. Rotting Christ are an anomaly to me. At times, their formula can be awe-inspiring and create a fantastic sense of this very mature songwriting ability, implementing very clever dynamics. However, at other times, songs can be somewhat harder to latch onto and just that little bit too much repetitive. Though overall the good outweighs the bad by quite a bit, it does take a bit of time for it to really latch onto you, but when it does, it's a fantastic example of just what this band are able to create with their very unique sound. And for that reason, I'm going to give the record a 4 out of 5. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out all my other videos, interviews, album reviews, all sorts of good stuff. Let me know what you thought of Rotting Christ. Are you a big fan of the band? I'd love to know. With that being said and done, I will see you guys next week for another album review. Take care, guys.